Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Book 2, lesson number 7. And as usual, inshallah, we will discuss the main points of the lesson first, and then we will start the lesson. As we know that we are learning the past tense, and in past tense, we started with dhahaba, and we also learned from dhahaba and then dhahabat, and similarly dhahabta and dhahabti, and also and we also learned dhahabu. So today, inshallah, we will continue learning the past tense, and we will learn about dhahabtum. Dhahabtum, as we can see here, it is used for the second person, and it's used for second person masculine plural, someone that you are talking to, as we call that in Arabic mukhatab. And for the mukhatab, for the masculine second person, we use dhahabtum. And on that pattern, we have the example, for example, akaltum, you ate. So on this pattern, like dhahabtum, we have learned like the verbs like nasara, daraba, fataha, and samia. So you can make nasartum, similarly darabtum, sami'tum, and jalastum, and all the verbs that we have learned, you can make the conjugation based on this pattern. So you want to say, what did you eat, brothers? So you will say, Mada akaltum ya ikhwanu. So why do we say ya ikhwanu? Because we are talking to the second person masculine plural. So we say, Mada akaltum ya ikhwanu. And when we talk about the second person feminine plural, then we use the verb that is used is on the pattern of dhahabtunna. As we know that dhahaba is the main verb or the base verb that has been used by Sheikh to teach verbs. So we will keep dhahaba as our base verb, and then on that pattern, inshallah, we will learn the different forms of the past tense. Dhahabtunna, you all went for the feminine, and on this pattern we have the verb like qara'a, and from qara'a, qara'tunna, you read. Did you read this magazine, sisters, or oh sisters? Aqra'tunna hadhihi al-majallata ya akhawatu. So we have, as we can see here, so we have the second person masculine plural, and the verb is dhahabtum, and for the second person feminine plural, the verb is dhahabtunna. And when we want to talk about first person plural, like we, and you want to say we went, so we have dhahabna, and we can see over here that this here we have to prolong the alif for 2 seconds. Dhahabna, and on that pattern we have the verb sami'na, we heard. And if you want to say we did not hear the adhan, so you say ma sami'na al-adhana, we did not hear the adhan. As we know that ma is used for negation in the past tense. So if you want to negate the past tense, we simply use ma, and then after that we use the past tense. Ma sami'na al-adhana, we did not hear the adhan. Now please look at the difference between when we talk about the second person and second person feminine plural. It is dhahabna, right? Dhahabna, they went. So we say dhahabna, they went, and it is third person feminine plural. But if we want to say we went, so we will say dhahabna. So it's very, very important, especially when we are reciting the Quran. We need to make sure that if we prolong it, then it becomes we, and if we don't prolong it, then it means they, and it refers to the ladies or the women for third person feminine. So this is very, very important. We need to be very careful about these two verbs where the difference is only prolonging it or not to prolong it. So in dhahabna, we don't prolong it, but when we say we went, so we will say dhahabna. Here is the conjugation, isnadu dhahaba, conjugation of dhahaba, and we know that the verb always starts with third person singular, and when we say third person singular, that means dhahaba, he went, for the masculine, and for the feminine it is dhahabat. And now I'm sure you know why we have number 1 and number 4. Yes, does anyone remember why do we have number 1 and number 4? Yes, any ideas? Because we are learning the verbal sentence, and we know that the verbal sentence, when we talk about the doer is masculine, so the verbal sentence always starts with the third person singular. For example, ذهب الطالب, and if the doer is feminine, so we will say ذهبت الطالبة. So the verbal sentence will start either with number 1 or it will start with number 4. Fail mustadir as well, yeah, but if the fail is zahir, if the doer is zahir, for example, you say Bilal went, so we will say ذهب Bilalun. But if you want to say Fatima went, you will say ذهبت Fatimatu. So for masculine doer, we will use ذهب, and for feminine doer, we will use ذهبت. And I'm sure you remember that ذهب is used when the doer is apparent. It can be used for singular, it can be used for dual, and it can also be used for more than 2, that is a plural. For example, ذهب الطالب, ذهب الطالبان, and ذهب الطلاب. And similarly, when we say ذهبت, when the sentence starts with the verb, we say ذهبت الطالبة, ذهبت الطالبتان, and we say ذهبت الطالبات. So we will use it for 1, 2, or more than 2, and that can be 3 and up to more than 3, whatever the number is. We haven't learned about the dual, but we have learned about the plural. So ذهب, he went, and ذهبوا, they went. And similarly, ذهبت, she went, and ذهبنا, they all went. So our focus today will be on this part of the verb. Okay, inshallah, about the dual, we will see what to do, because the Sheikh has introduced a lesson that is the end of lesson number, which is the last lesson of book 2. So we might bring it first so that we also get used to the dual as well, because we don't really want to wait up to the end of book number 2, because we have to deal with the dual with all the verb forms. So I believe it is a good idea to learn the dual as well, so that our conjugation also becomes complete. And then we have ذهبت, ذهبتا, and ذهبنا. And then we have ذهبت, ذهبتما, and ذهبتم in today's lesson. And similarly, ذهبتي, ذهبتما, ذهبتن. And then we have ذهبت and ذهبنا. And this is what we are going to focus on, inshallah. So the past tense conjugation, as we can see, inshallah, we are just like going to complete it in bits and pieces. But you can see we started with the verb only for the third person singular masculine, and we have learned for third person plural, and we can see that also third person for singular feminine, and also third person plural. And we have also learned the second person, ذهبت and ذهبتي, and today inshallah we will learn about ذهبتم. Similarly, we have learned about ذهبت, I went, and today inshallah, if you want to say we went, we will say ذهبنا. All right, here we have something, part number 4. You can say the rules of spelling in if you want to make it easier, but in Arabic we call it imla. Okay, so the rules of imla. So we can see that when we connect a sakin, we have learned in book number 1 as well. In book number 1, lesson number 5, we have learned that when we connect sakin to a noun that starts with hamzatul wasl or with al, we connect it with kasra. For example, we say dhahabat, but when we want to connect it, we will say dhahabatit talibatu. So we will put kasra, right? And we have done so many examples of this, and we know that whenever we have, especially the instructions of the lesson, iqra il mithala, imla al faragha. So all the examples that we have done, I have explained it several times that whenever we connect sakin with kasra, right? However, we have learned that there is an exception. Do you remember the exception? Let me see who remembers the exception of connecting. Can we connect sakin with fatha? Can we do that? Okay, yes, min. If you want to connect min, how will you connect it? We know that min is sakin, the ending is sakin. But if you want to connect it with a noun that starts with hamzatul wasl, so how will you connect it? Does anyone remember? Min is always connected with fatha. Min is connected with fatha, so we say min Allahi, so it will be connected with fatha. Okay, excellent. So that's our exception, as we can see over here, as you can say. So generally, you can say that in 95% of the cases, or even we can say, yeah, let's say 95% of the cases, we will connect with kasra. However, here is an exception where we have to connect with fatha. And today we will learn a little bit more, as you can say, let's say exceptions or more rules about connecting a sakin to Hamzat al-Wasl. So you can see over here that when meme is connected now, so we will learn about meme now, inshallah, connected to a noun that starts with Hamzat al-Wasl, it's connected with Dhamma. So meme has a different rule. For example, we say wa alaykum, so we know that the ending is sakin. But when you want to connect it with al, or when you want to connect it with Hamzat al-Wasl, we will connect it with Dhamma, so it becomes wa alaykumus salamu. So meme is the second exception, you can say, that whenever you connect meme with Hamzat al-Wasl, then it will be connected with Dhamma. Okay, that's the first exception with meme. There is a little bit more that we need to know. Here we are connecting meme to Hamzat al-Wasl. Okay, but what if we need to connect meme to an attached pronoun? So there is something that needs to be added. When meme is connected to an attached pronoun, so we know that first we have to add Dhamma, but after Dhamma, we have to also add an extra wow. We have to add an extra wow. For example, if you see over here, for example, you say Ra'aytum, and we know that Ra'aytum meme is sakin, and now we want to connect it with who. So we will, the first rule that we have learned over here, the first rule is we have to connect it with Dhamma. So it becomes Ra'aytumu plus who. Okay, now it's not readable in a way, like you can't really read it like Ra'aytumuhu. It doesn't like sound good to the ears. So what happens with the attached pronouns, after Dhamma, an extra alif is added, and it becomes Ra'aytumuhu. Ra'aytumuhu. And it's applicable to all the verbs. Whenever the verb ends with meme that is sakin, and you want to connect it to the attached pronouns, to connect it to the attached pronouns, first we have to add Dhamma, and after adding Dhamma, we have to add an extra wow, and then as you can see here, it becomes Ra'aytumuhu, Darabtumuhu, Qataltumuhu, Sa'altumuhu. So all of them, it will be with the sound of oo, as we can see, so it becomes muhu. So that's another rule of spelling, you can say, or imla ul arabiya, that we have to learn. And we know that these such examples, there are some examples in the Quran as well. Point number 5 is about kana. We know that kana is used about the past tense when we want to say he was. Kana, he was. Okay, now kana, we need to know two things about kana that are very, very important. Two things. Number one, it is used with a nominal sentence. Jumla ismiya, it is used with a nominal sentence. That's number one. Number two, whenever we use kana, it changes the present tense to the past tense, or it changes Jumla ismiya to past tense. That's number one. And number two, kana always has ismu kana and khabaru kana. Now you remember something? We have some particles. We have learned some nouns, as we can say. For example, inna, anna. We have learned about them, and we know that there is an ismu inna and there is khabaru inna. And now we are learning about kana, and kana also has ismu kana and khabaru kana. Okay, what is the difference between inna and kana? The meaning, inna is used for emphasis, right? And kana is used for the past tense. That's number one. Number two, ismu inna and khabaru inna is always there. We know that ismu inna is always mansub, inna Allah, right? But if you look at kana, ismu kana is always marfu'. Ismu kana is always marfu'. And the Sheikh has beautifully explained over here to make things easier for us. Here, whenever you look at khabaru kana is jar majroor, or it is dharf plus mudaf ilayh. So we know that jar majroor will always end with kasra, right? It will always end with kasra. So we will say kana bilalun. So bilalun is ismu kana, and fil fasli is khabaru kana. Okay, now our focus is only on ismu kana. So we know that ismu kana is always marfu. So kana bilalun. And if you remember in the beginning of the course, I gave you two examples. In Allah ghafurur rahim and kana Allahu aliman hakima. Now when you say kana Allahu aliman hakima, and now you can see over here that after kana, the noun is always marfu. However, in this part of the lesson, the Sheikh has only introduced us to the khabaru kana, which is either jar majroor or it is a zarf plus mudaf ilayhi. And we know that zarf plus mudaf ilayhi is always majroor. Give me a minute, please. All right, so we say كان القلم تحت الكتاب. So the only thing that we need to focus over here is ismu kana is always marfu. Ismu kana is always marfu. And here we know that jar majroor, we know that we can't help it because the ending has to be always majroor. But inshallah, when we'll proceed further in the course, you will see that we will also have khabaru kana, and that can be a noun, and it's not jar majroor or it's not zarf plus mudaf ilayh. And we know that when we talk about the feminine, for example, Zainabu, so for the feminine, Zainabu fil matbakhi, Zainab is in the kitchen. And if you want to say Zainab was in the kitchen, of course, now we have to make sure that we say kanat Zainabu, because as we know that the verb changes according to the doer. So if the doer is masculine, we will say kana, and if the doer is feminine, then we will say kanat. As we can see here, kanat Zainabu fil matbakhi. So here fil fasli and taht al kitabi and fil matbakhi. As we can see over here, no change takes place in clause after kana. So we will see that kana always has ismu kana and khabaru kana, and ismu kana will always remain marfu. It will always remain marfu. So it's similar to the doer, as we know that doer is always marfu, right? The file is always marfu. So that's what it means, that the doer will always remain marfu. However, khabaru kana will become mansub. It will become mansub. But in this lesson, the Sheikh has only introduced the khabar for our ease, which is jar majroor, or it is mudaf and dharf plus mudaf ilayh. For example, tahta is dharf, and we know that tahta is used as special mudaf. So al-kitabi is majroor because it is mudaf ilayh. So fil fasli jar majroor and tahta al-kitabi is dharf plus mudaf ilayh. Okay, what do we remember, or what do you remember about the use of dhu? What does it mean? Does anyone remember the meaning of dhu? Dhu means possessing or having, right? Or the person who is possessor or having something. Excellent, possessor of. Very good. Okay. Now, when we talk about noun and adjective, or when we talk about mawsuf and sifa, we know that mawsuf and sifa are equal in 4 properties of the noun, which is capacity, status, number, and gender. CG and S. Yeah, CG. Ahsanti. So rajulun dhu lihiyatin. So here rajulun is mawsuf, and this construction, complete construction, dhu lihiyatin is this is mawsuf and this is sifa. So here it's easier. Rajulun dhu lihiyatin. So mawsuf and sifa are equal in 4 properties of the noun. But if we have definite noun, for example, ar-rajulu, now you know that dhu does not take al with it. And why it does not take al with it? Because it is used as mudaf, and we have learned that mudaf never takes al with it, right? So now it will be wrong to say ar-rajulu adhu al-lihyati. That's a mistake. As we know that with dhu we cannot add al because it is mudaf. Mudaf does not take al, and mudaf does not take tanween. So that's why we will add only al to mudaf ilayh. So it becomes ar-rajulu dhul lihyati. Ar-rajulu dhul lihyati. So here ar-rajulu is masuf and dhul lihyati is sifa. Masuf and sifa. And here rajulun is masuf and dhul lihyatin is sifa. And why lihyatin and lihya is majroor? Because dhu is used as special mudaf. I think that's the way that we should learn, but in case you find it difficult, so the easy way is if a noun before dhu doesn't have al, then the noun after that will not have al. That's just to make things easier for us. No al, no al. And if the noun before dhu has al, then the noun after dhu will take al. That's the easier way, which I don't recommend. But in case you want to learn it in the easier way, then you can say that. And in the proper way, I have already explained it to you. So in rajulun dhu lihyatin, the mudaf ilayh remains indefinite, so it remains indefinite. But when we say ar-rajulu dhu lihyati, then it becomes definite, as I explained earlier. So when you say indi kitabun dhu ghilafin jamilin, so I have a book with a beautiful cover. So indi kitabun, so kitabun mawsuf and dhu ghilafin is sifa. Similarly, you say al kitabu dhul ghilafil jamili ghalin. Al-Kitabu will be masuf and Dhul Ghilaf al-Jamili will be sifa. And as we know, Ghalin means expensive, and that will be. So this part you can make it mubtada, and Ghalin you can make it khabar. So the book with beautiful cover is expensive. You know that when we have to add is RM. So wherever you can add is RM, the first part before is RM will be mubtada, and the second part after is RM will be khabar. So I hope, inshallah, this is also clear. I hope so. If you have any question, please let me know. Okay, so we proceed further, and the same rule as I have explained earlier, that whenever we have a noun or a verb, please remember whether it is a noun or a verb. For example, baytukum, it's attached pronoun. Baytukum, kum is attached pronoun, mudaf mudaf ilayh. But ra'aytum, which last sentence on the previous slide? Yes. Yes, okay. Al-Kitabu Dhul Ghilaf al-Jamili Ghalin. The book with a beautiful cover is expensive. All right. Do you have any question? All right. Yes. What's the question? All right. In case you're on mute, you can ask me after we complete the class, inshallah. The dhu does not mean is. It means possessor, having. When you have something, when you possess something, that means dhu. The reason why we have is RM here because it's a nominal sentence. And we have explained and learned several times that nominal sentence always consists of mubtada and khabar. And whenever mubtada and khabar are put together, we get the meaning of is RM. For example, you want to say ana talibun. So you say I am a student. So how do we get the meaning of I am? We put the indefinite noun and indefinite noun together. So when you put definite and indefinite noun together, we get the meaning of is RM. And similarly here we have definite noun and indefinite noun together. So that's why we have the meaning of is. The book with beautiful cover is expensive. I hope, inshallah, it's clear now. So whenever we have a noun plus a verb that ends with meme, and you want to connect it, you have to connect it with dhamma. We have learned it already. So baytukum, and you want to say your new house, you will say baytukumul jadidu. Ra'aytum is a verb, and when you want to connect a verb with al, you have to also connect it with dhamma. Ara'aytumul imama. So whether it's a noun or it's a verb, when the meme is sakin and you want to connect it with al or hamzatul wasl, you have to connect it with dhamma. Kitabuhum, and when you want to say their old book, so you will say kitabuhumul qadimu. And if you have ibnahu, as we know that ibn hamza is hamzatul wasl, so you will say as'altum ibnahu. asa'altu mubnahu. Now, in modern standard Arabic, we don't really need to focus on this. You can also say asa'altum ibnahu, as the Arabs do. But when it comes to Quran, then we have to make sure that we follow the rules of the tajweed. And over there, we have to connect it with, if we need to connect meme with ibnun, then we have to connect it with dhamma, and hamza is hamzatul wasl. So when we connect it, we don't pronounce it. Asa'altu mubnahu, asa'altu mubnahu. Abshir. Simply, it's a polite way of saying yes. Okay. Abshiru bil Jannah. That's also that it literally means rejoice the good news of Jannah, inshallah. So if but in Arabic also, when you want to say yes, okay, or when you want to say okay, of course I'll do that, don't worry about that. So you can simply say in a beautiful way to say someone in affirmative, you can simply say abshir. Okay, abshir. So please get me a glass of water. Abshir. Can you help me with this question? Abshir. Okay. Will you come with me to the library? Abshir. So anything where you have to give a polite and beautiful positive answer, it's not negative, it's positive answer. So you will say Abshir. Thuluthun is the pattern, which is when we talk about the fractions like 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, and 1/6. This pattern is used for the fractions. In fact, the pattern that is used for the fraction is fu'lun, and you can see that fu'lun is used where as ainul kalima is sakin. However, you have two exceptions. When you want to say 1/3 and when you want to say 1/6, then the ainul kalima will take dhamma. Ainul kalima will take dhamma. So when you want to say 1/3, you will say thuluthun. If you want to say 1/6, you will say sudusun. But if you want to say 1/5, you will say khumsun. If you want to say 1/4, you will say rub'un. So 1/3 and 1/6, they are exceptions, whereas 1/3 and 1/6 are exceptions where ainul kalima takes dhamma. But when you talk about 1/4, 1/5, 1/7, 1/8, and 1/9, then ainul kalima will be sakin. So this is one of the patterns, inshallah, and we will learn in detail when we do the exercises. Here, this lesson has some other rules that you also need to know. This is something a little bit extra, which I have for you. So inshallah, I want you and myself to learn and teach Arabic in a way where inshallah we try our level best to cover almost everything, not completely, but almost everything. So whatever Sheikh has introduced to us, we would like to see and try to discuss about it in detail. First, we have seen the rules of connecting word to the other word. And here is another rule. If a word ends with alif maqsura, and after that you have attached pronoun, then alif maqsura changes into regular alif. For example, shafa, as we can see here, it ends with alif maqsura. Similarly, in the Quran, we have asa, that means stick. And after that, we have attached pronoun hu. So it will be written like asahu, his stick. So it will change into alif maqsura, will change into alif layyina, or the regular alif, it will change into regular alif. So shafa plus hu, shafahu, and we say shafahullahu, may Allah cure him. And similarly, when you have ra'a, and as you can see over here, that before alif maqsura, what do we have? Hamza. And here we have alif. So whenever there is a combination of hamza that has fatha on it, and whenever we have alif that is sakin, then it will change into a long alif, as you can see here over here. So it becomes ra'ahu. So this is also something that you need to learn, inshallah. And when we learn the present tense, for example, you say akulu and some other verbs that starts with hamza, inshallah, you will come across this rule again. But I want you to focus on this rule, that whenever you are connecting verb or a noun. It can be a verb or a noun. This is the example of verb and this is the example of noun. If it ends with alif maqsura and you want to connect it to the attached pronoun, any kind of attached pronoun, then we will change alif maqsura into regular alif. The verbs, we have started the verb dhahaba, and there are some categories of the verbs, and the first category that you will come across in the weak verbs means that they have in the root letter, they have either waw or ya. So the weak verbs, the first category of the weak verbs that start with the verbs, they start with waw. So for example, wajada, he found; wahaba, he granted; wada'a, he put. So inshallah, when you learn the verbs in detail, you will come to know about it. So this category, that the verbs that start with waw are called mithal. You only need to know the name that they are called mithal, nothing else about that. Wajada, so the verbs, all the verbs that start with waw, they are called mithal. And these are the weak verbs. Then we always have, every verb has a verbal noun, and the verbal noun is called masdar. It is called masdar. For example, we say nasara yansuru nasran, daraba yadribu darban, sami'a yasma'u sam'an. So masdar in Arabic is very, very important. This is just an introduction to you to know what it is, and inshallah we will learn more about it in detail. Why it is very interesting? Because it is used as a verb and it is also used as a noun. So it can be translated as visit, or to visit, or visiting. For example, you say, please visit me. Please visit me. Masdar means past, present, and future. La masdar is okay. You can say past, present, and future. Yeah, that's the possibility. Or it's simply the present, or it is like it gives the meaning of the verb and also it gives the meaning of the noun. As I was going to say, please visit me, and also I'm going to visit my friend, and thanks for visiting us. Thanks for visiting us. Zara yazuru ziyaratan. So we have here Zara, and we will learn more about it in detail. Zara yazuru ziyaratan, because we will have ziyaratun in the lesson. So that's why I want you to just come to know. The only thing I want you to know is the terminology that we are getting introduced to. Please don't focus about, or don't bother about anything else, like what mithal is and what masdar is. Just you need to know that these are the things that exist in the Arabic language, and inshallah we will discuss about everything in detail in book number 2. If you talk about this course, in this course, my favorite book is book number 2. And you know that, like, in the beginning things look like difficult, or they look easier sometimes. In the middle things become like a little bit messy, and in the end the things become like easier, or things become very clearer. So the middle is always something where we need to focus more. So this book consists of lots of beautiful information, and most of it is about the verb. So that's why we need to learn this book in detail. And inshallah, if you're able to master this book, inshallah, Allah knows the best, but you're almost able to master most of the Arabic language, inshallah. So we have learned that the verb that starts with waw is called mithal, and also every verb has a masdar, and masdar can be translated as visit, or to visit, or visiting. I only want you to focus on the meaning. As I said, please visit me, thanks, I want you to visit me, and thanks for visiting us. So you can see that we can use it in the same way, and inshallah when we do the lesson, you will see how it is used in the lesson by the Sheikh. And similarly, we have something that is called ismul alah, that's called the noun of instrument. It has only very few awzan, I guess only 4, and one of them is mif'alatun, which is miknasatun. So any word that you find on this pattern, it will be ismul alah. So now the difference is very minute. For example, if mim has fatha, it will be maf'alatun. So if mim has fatha, that will be used for the adverb of place. For example, you say maktabatun, madrasatun. So that will become the is dharf al-makan. But when you have mim has kasra, then it becomes ismul ala, that is called noun of instrument. And in the lesson we have miknasatun. In the Quran, there is only one noun that is used in the Quran that is on the pattern of miknasatun, is minsaatun. That is like the insect that was eating the stick of, I believe, Ayyub alayhi salam. I hope so. So that is min sa'atun. There's only one verb that's used in the Quran. Noun, sorry, that's used in the Quran. However, there are many verbs or nouns that we will learn, inshallah, that are on the pattern of mif'alatun. And similarly, there is one pattern of adverb of place, that is maf'alun. So the difference you will see between the noun of instrument, ismul ala, and dharf, the difference will be meme, when meme has fatha, when meme has Sulaiman alayhi salam. Are you sure? When meme has fatha, I don't really remember. May Allah forgive our shortcomings. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. So maf'alun. So when meme has fatha, then it will be on the pattern of maf'alun, and it is used for adverb of place. Mal'abun, matbakhun. Matbakh we have learned in book number 1, right? And similarly, when you talk about the colors for the masculine, the colors for the masculine, they come on the pattern of af'alu. Af'alu, for example, ahmaru, asfaru, aswadu, akhdaru, all the patterns of the colors for the masculine colors, because colors are also masculine and feminine. So the colors always come for the masculine, they come on the pattern of af'alu, and we know that any noun that comes on the pattern of af'alu is mamnu min as-sarf, that does not accept tanween. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.